Hey friends, Charlie B here. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about anxiety. It's something that I struggle with myself. I know a lot of other people struggle with it also. That's why it's such an important matter to talk about. Anytime things in life, begin to worry us, we begin to get anxious about things, and it turns out not so good. And sometimes the worst thing that can happen is to know something before it's time for you to know it. And the consequences being afterwards. I was in thought one day just kind of meditating on the Lord and His goodness and about my own flesh and myself. And according to the Scriptures, we are to be anxious for nothing. In other words, we shouldn't become anxious. I heard one preacher say that it was sin to have anxiety, but I don't believe that's the case. I believe anxiety, if that preacher was to be honest, it's something that he suffered with himself. Something that I know I suffer with when I get around a lot of people, or when things just start going a way that I know it shouldn't go. I get anxious and start making rash decisions, and a lot of times that can come against you in a harsh way. I've left several jobs because of anxiety and stuff like that. And at one time I heard somebody say that, how would I say it, sometimes people will tell you, well, you got to take care of this because you got responsibilities, but some people don't know the amount of anxiety that other people carry. It's something that you can't explain or that you can't give to somebody else. Everybody is their own person. And concerning anxiety, we all handle things in different ways. But the only way I know, besides medicine, and that has its own purpose in its own right, is to, Jesus said, cast your burdens onto Him. He said, take upon my yoke, for my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. And that's the approach I try to go towards. I've taken medicine for depression before. I've taken and done a lot of things to get rid of stuff like this. And one thing I've learned, I'm not going to say I was ever a real alcoholic, but I had used drinking to take away some of the anxiety that I have about other things. I hate being put in a position to where I don't know what to do. And when I get in a position like that, sometimes I'll make some bad decisions. I try not to make any decisions when I'm under a lot of stress or anxiety. And those two go hand in hand. We could have a whole nother session about that. But what I want to talk to you today as concerning the anxiety about is casting your burdens on the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, the creator of all things. And anxiety, whether some people believe it or not, it has its purpose to get us out of trouble. And that's just part of the response of our bodies when we find a way, we're trying to think of a way to get out of a certain situation or turmoil or anything like that. But learning how to give things to God is not easy. I'm learning that a lot this year, because it's easy to say, well, just give it to God. Just give it to God. I've heard a lot of people tell me, man, just give that to God. And I've said it myself before in the past. But I want you to realize one thing about giving things to God. When you do, when people's wronged you or hurt you, and somebody tells you to give it to God, the whole thing is, God handles things the way God handles things. And man handles things the way man handles things. And the wrath of God is not anything to be playing with. And the scriptures say, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. And when you're an anointed of God, and people come against you thinking that they're funny, or thinking that that they're better than you, or anything like that, I'm going to tell you, be prepared to be brought down. Because that's part of giving things to God. And I've always been cautious about giving things to God. Because I don't want to see people get hurt, or get their feelings hurt, or get put in a bad situation. But I've learned sometimes that's the only way for people to grow. So I learned to give people to God. When they don't act appropriately and treat you a certain way, give them to God. And God will handle it from there. And it might not be good for them. But that's the things that have to take place. Anxiety has its place in your life. And it's to teach you how to give things to God. As Jesus was on the cross, I don't think he was anxious for anything. But the one thing that he said, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. I want to leave you with that thought today. Leave people in the hands of God, because a lot of times they just don't know what they're doing and what they've even done to themselves. I'm Charlie B, the working man's preacher, headed that way. Check my website out, straightcrookedliving.com. Check my YouTube page out. That's where all these drive time videos will go once they're done. And remember, if you're not living straight, you're already living straight crooked. Peace. Much love.